The village of Darial had only one rule. If someone knocks after midnight, don't look at their face. Nobody ever explained why. People in Darial repeated it the same way they warned children not to wander into forests after Maghrib or play near abandoned wells. Just another village superstition. At least, that's what Hamza believed, until he came back. Hamza Demir returned to Darial after 11 years. He had spent all those years in Istanbul, far from the village, far from its stories, far from the things people whispered about after dark. But now he was back, and the first thing he noticed was how wrong the village felt. The streets looked narrower, the houses leaned inward slightly like they were listening to each other. Even the air smelled strange. Wet soil, wood smoke, and something underneath it all, something rotten. His mother cried the moment she saw him. "You should have come before your father died," Mom whispered. Hamza said nothing, because the truth was uglier. He hadn't returned because of grief. He came back because of the dreams. For 2 straight months, he'd been seeing the exact same thing every night. Someone standing outside his childhood home, waiting. Then, toke, toke, toke. 3 slow knocks, and every dream ended the same way. His mother opened the door and started screaming. That first night back, the electricity died at exactly 11 p.m. The entire village drowned in darkness. Hamza lay awake on the thin mattress, staring at the ceiling fan above him, completely still. Outside, dogs barked somewhere far away. Then suddenly, silence. Not normal silence, the kind that feels alive. And then Hamza's eyes snapped toward the window. Not the front door, his bedroom window. A cold feeling crawled slowly down his spine. Behind the curtain, someone motionless was standing there. Tall, motionless, just waiting. Talk. From the other room, Mom shouted, "Don't look outside!" Hamza almost laughed. He was 28 years old, not some child afraid of ghost stories. Then the knocking came again. Harder this time. And something about it felt wrong. Not angry, not violent, hungry. Hamza stood up. Mom rushed into the room instantly and grabbed his arm so tightly her nails dug into his skin. "Don't look at its face. Its face. Not his face. Its." "Mom, enough." Hamza pulled away and yanked the curtain open. Nothing. Just darkness. And his own reflection in the glass. He exhaled shakily. "See? There's nothing." The reflection smiled. Hamza froze, because he wasn't smiling. Slowly, the reflection raised one hand and tapped the inside of the glass. Hamza stumbled backward. The thing tilted its head sideways, far too much for a human neck. Its eyes almost looked normal, almost, except they were completely hollow. No pupils, no whites, just empty holes carved into skin. Then it mouthed 4 words. "Let me in." The lights came back instantly, and the reflection became normal again. Hamza couldn't breathe. Behind him, Mom started crying softly. "You saw it," she whispered. The next morning, the village acted strangely around him. People avoided eye contact. Children stopped playing when he walked past. An old man selling bread quietly started reciting prayers under his breath the moment he saw him. Finally, Hamza cornered the imam outside the mosque. "What is this thing?" The imam looked genuinely terrified. "You opened the curtain?" "Yes." Then the imam asked quietly, "Did it look like you?" Hamza felt his stomach tighten. "How did you know that?" The imam didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pointed toward the graveyard at the edge of the village. 30 years ago, he said softly, there was a fire here. One house burned completely with an entire family trapped inside. But when the villagers broke the door down, there were no bodies. Hamza frowned. "That makes no sense." The imam nodded slowly. "No. What made no sense was that the family returned 3 days later." A cold wave passed through Hamza's chest. "They looked normal," the imam continued. "They spoke normally, ate normally. But then people began noticing things." "What things?" The imam's expression darkened. "They never blinked." The wind moved quietly through the trees. Then one night, a little girl looked at her mother during dinner and realized her mother had no eyes. Hamza stared silently. "The skin was smooth," the imam whispered, "like eyes had never existed there at all." Hamza tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. The imam leaned closer. Whatever came back from that fire wasn't human anymore. It only learned how to wear human faces. Hamza swallowed hard. "So you think one of them is outside my house?" The imam looked at him with pure pity. "No." His voice dropped almost to a whisper. "I think one of them is already inside." That night, Hamza couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house sounded alive. Then, 2:17 a.m., footsteps echoed slowly through the hallway, dragging, uneven. Hamza assumed it was Mom, until the footsteps stopped directly outside his door and stayed there. No breathing, no movement, just standing. Then came the voice. Hamza, Mom's voice. But something inside it felt deeply wrong. Open the door, Hamza swallowed. Mom? Silence, then softly, please. Something dark slid beneath the door. Liquid, thick, blood. Hamza's chest tightened. Mom? The voice instantly changed. Deeper now, smiling somehow. Good boys opened doors for their mothers. Hamza backed away slowly. Outside, the thing giggled quietly, then began scratching the wood, slowly, patiently, like time meant nothing to it. Hamza grabbed his phone with shaking hands and called his mother, and downstairs, a ringtone answered. His blood turned cold, because Mom's phone was downstairs, which meant the scratching stopped. Complete silence. Then, inches from the door, Hamza heard his own voice whisper, Hamza. His entire body went numb, because he wasn't speaking. Then the thing outside laughed softly and said, You should see what's wearing her face.